New Testament readings from Mark chapter 12, beginning at verse 13. Then they sent to Jesus some Pharisees and some Herodians to trap him in what he said. And they came and said to him, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere and show deference to no one, for you do not regard people with partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance with truth. Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" But knowing their hypocrisy, he said to them, "Why are you putting me to the test? Bring me a denarius and let me see it." And they brought one. Then he said to them, "Whose head is this and whose title?" And they answered, "The emperor's." Jesus said to them, "Give to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's." And they were utterly amazed at him. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. The other night, I can't remember what channel it was, but I saw one of those beer commercials. Normally, of course, I avert my eyes. And featured the most interesting man in the world. I looked up some of his accomplishments. They are astounding. He once beat Garry Kasparov at chess with his left hand. He counts his chickens before they hatch, and they always hatch. He considers the practicing of any skill to be a form of cheating. The pheromones he secretes affect people miles away. He was the featured man at a bachelorette auction, and he brought in 13 million euros under the table. He can make organic orange juice out of apples. His personality is so magnetic he's unable to carry credit cards. He speaks fluent French in Russian. His charm is so contagious, vaccines were created for it. He was always on the right side of the tracks. Even if he crossed to the other side, he'd still be on the right side. I thought about this because I've been talking about Moses and Pharaoh, and they have to be two of the most interesting men in the Bible. Remember, we left everyone in Egypt. Moses has met with God and enlisted the help of Aaron, and they've told the people of the good news of deliverance. They believed God. We're told and were so pleased that they bowed down and worshipped. The story continues in chapter 5. Afterward, Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go, so that they may celebrate a festival to me in the wilderness." But Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord that I should heed him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." Moses and Aaron go to see Pharaoh and get in. Rather remarkable feat if you think about it. Maybe Moses still had some connections around the place. They get in and surprise, surprise, Pharaoh says, "No." But wait, maybe Pharaoh doesn't understand. Then Moses and Aaron said, "The God of the Hebrews has revealed himself to us. Let us go a 3 days' journey into the wilderness to sacrifice to the Lord our God, or he will fall upon us with pestilence and sword." Come on, king, give us a week off, or God will be angry with us, and Zappo, there goes your workforce. The king of Egypt said to them, "Moses and Aaron, why are you taking the people away from their work? Get to their labors. Now they are more numerous than the people of the land, and yet you want them to stop working." So Moses and Aaron go back to the people to give them the good news? Don't think so. They probably went to pray and to think about what they might do next. Meanwhile, back at the palace, that same day Pharaoh commanded the taskmasters of the people as well as their supervisors, "You shall no longer give the people straw to make bricks as before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. But you shall require them the same quantity of bricks as they have made previously. Do not diminish it, for they are lazy. That is why they cry, let us go and offer sacrifice to our God. Let heavy work be laid on them, then they will labor at it and pay no attention to deceptive words. Good move, Pharaoh. These people work for you, not for some faraway deity. They're your people. And people who are working themselves to the bone don't have time for worship. And if they don't have time for devotions, well, then all this God talk and deliverance stuff will be put out of their minds. They'll all be too tired. I suppose I might mention that about 3,400 years later, the prime reason that people give for not going much to church is they're too tired. I don't entirely believe it, but that's what they report. The work of the week has exhausted them, and they just don't have any other day to sleep in. Maybe they worked a little bit for Pharaoh too. Maybe they're just being good stewards of their time, good stewards in the service of Mammon, of course. Sadly, the people who need to think about this aren't here. Anyhow, Moses and Aaron come into this labor negotiation offering nothing, and management isn't going to stand for it. Not only that, with Pharaoh ensuring their failure, well, the workers will certainly decertify these spokesmen pronto. So the taskmasters and the supervisors of the people went out and said to the people, "Thus says Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Go and get straw yourselves, wherever you can find it. But your work will not be lessened in the least." Got that? The usual formulation of the word of God spoken through the prophet is, "Thus says the Lord." Well, here we have, "Thus says Pharaoh." It's clear that a serious challenge to the God of the Hebrews is being thrown down. I don't care what your tribal deity tells you to do, people. Thus says Pharaoh, and you better get hustling. So the people scattered throughout the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. And the supervisors of the Israelites, whom Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten and were asked, "Why did you not finish the required quantity of bricks yesterday and today as you did before?" This is too much. Supervisors who were slaves themselves were responsible for the same quota, but they had to gather their own straw. So they go over the taskmaster's head and get an audience with Pharaoh himself. The Israelite supervisors came to Pharaoh and cried, "Why do you treat your servants like this? No straw is given to us, yet they say to us, 'Make bricks.' Look how your servants are beaten. You are unjust to your own people." He said, "You are lazy, lazy. That is why you say, 'Let us go and sacrifice to the Lord.' Go now and work, but no straw shall be given you, but you shall deliver the same number of bricks." Why? Why even this harsher treatment? Because Pharaoh needs to make it crystal clear who is boss here. They are Pharaoh's people, not the people of some heathen spirit living on some remote mountaintop. That's there, this is here. And here, Pharaoh is boss. Then we get the understatement of the day. Israelite supervisors saw that they were in trouble when they were told, "You shall not lessen your daily number of bricks." And they left Pharaoh and came upon Moses and Aaron who were waiting to meet them. They said to them, "The Lord look upon you and judge. You have brought us into bad odor with Pharaoh and have put a sword in their hand to kill us." Here's another parallel. Moses and Aaron first told Pharaoh that the Lord will smite them, the Hebrews, with pestilence and sword for not obeying instructions. Now it's the Hebrew foremen that are complaining that there's a sword all right, but it's in Pharaoh's hand. What are the people supposed to think? Either way, here's the sword. So, It's really Pharaoh who's in trouble, but right now the people think they're in trouble. Which is why in a very short time they've forgotten God's promise and been overwhelmed by earthly authority. Even Moses who has spoken directly with God, is not immune. Then Moses turned again to the Lord and said, "O Lord, why have you mistreated this people? Why did you ever send me? Since I first came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has mistreated this people, and you have done nothing at all to deliver your people." It's a way of saying, thank you very much. I told you I was the wrong guy. As soon as we got here, everything went down the river in a basket. Why? Why have you done this to us? Moses, of course, is wrong. God has not done this to the people, Pharaoh has. But because God didn't zip in and sweep things clean immediately, Moses assigns the blame for human sin to God. Ought to sound familiar. "Oh Lord, why did you make this bad thing happen to me? Oh God, why did you let this bad thing happen to me? If you were really all-powerful, you could have prevented it. What's happening? Don't you love me anymore?" I want to make it clear right here. God did not want this situation at all. God did not tell Moses and Aaron to go aggravate Pharaoh so that when all the dust settled, the people would be so glad to leave, they'd fall right into spiritual life. No. God did not intend this situation at all. But overcoming this servitude, getting out from under this oppression, is a struggle, even for God. Evil, real evil, doesn't give up without a fight. God will not wave the divine hand and poof, everything is now hunky-dory. When oppression is this deep-seated and carries this kind of history behind it, a protracted conflict is all but inevitable. So think about it. Jesus struggled against evil in the wilderness, 40 days in the wilderness. And he confronted the sum of human escapism in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it was a mighty struggle even for him. Why should it be less so here? If its defeat were not a struggle, how real could the evil be in the first place? But they knew then, and we at least suspect now, that real evil is powerful, and it will take real struggle to overcome it. And back in Egypt, the struggle is about to begin. There's something else going on here. Just when the people have made a profession of faith, and just when the initial contact has been made to remedy a bad situation, the situation gets worse. Sounds consistent. Things are going to get a lot worse before they get worse. We hear warnings all the time that coming to faith doesn't mean the automatic end of evil. Indeed, it seems that coming to faith often sensitizes us to just how much evil there is out there in the world, and how difficult the struggle will be to deal with it. Back at the beginning, when Moses and Aaron go to Pharaoh the first time, we heard Pharaoh ask, "Who is the Lord?" I don't know the Lord. One thing we can say for sure is that Pharaoh will know the Lord, in ways that he will have to experience to believe. But lest we be too hard on Pharaoh, we might well say the same thing about the people. They worshiped God in the wilderness. We read that last time. But they've already forgotten. It's clear that before the story is over, they too will know the Lord, and in ways they will have to experience to believe. Mercifully, God knows our weakness and that of Moses and offers reassurance. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Now you shall see what I will do to Pharaoh. Indeed, by a mighty hand, he will let them go. by a mighty hand, he will drive them out of his land. You notice, God does not get on Moses' case for disbelief. God knows that Moses is speaking out of ignorance and pressure. After all, deliverance had been promised, and now things were just getting worse. It wasn't really Moses' fault. He did what he was told, even if he had to be talked into doing it. God offers reassurance that indeed a line has been drawn in the sand. And God's plan is about to be worked through in fear and trembling. It's often the same with us. There's a line marked in the sand in this world, and the forces of evil are also pitted against God and the children of light. Maybe not so dramatically, but slavery of all kinds in many guises still exists. We hear and read about more classical slavery in some parts of, say, the Third World. From teenage prostitutes to child factory labor to indentured farm workers to those just too poor to do anything else except slave labor. And there's work of liberation to be done there, I assure you. I'm grateful for organizations from elements of the United Nations on south for that. What we don't read as much about, but is just as prevalent and much more so in high Western civilization, is voluntary slavery to whatever power will let us acquire things made by hands. Acquire money, power, comfort, acquire predictability, and ultimately to acquire control and cheat death. This is why the old story of Israel in Egypt is so important. Their struggle is our struggle. Evil they faced is the one we face. Has a different name and a better hairstyle. It's actually the law of spiritual entropy, the tendency of souls to seek lesser organized states, to dissipate into ultimately chaos, all in the name and for the sake of preventing just that. I pray in the weeks ahead as we look toward the cross and beyond the cross to resurrection, we appreciate both the reality of evil and the power of God to overcome it. May it always be so. Amen.